Have you ever stopped to wonder why, at certain moments, it feels like we're trapped in an endless cycle of thoughts that push us further and further away from true peace? A voice that never shuts up, a constant presence in our minds, always. There, narrating our reality, questioning every decision we make, and often turning us against ourselves. But what if that voice, incessant and uncontrollable, wasn't actually you? Now imagine for a moment, what if most of what you believe to be your identity is nothing but a construct of your mind, a narrative that, without you even realizing, has been built over the years, never having been questioned? This idea might seem unsettling at first, but at the same time, it's incredibly liberating. Because what you're about to discover has the power to transform the way you live, feel, and see the world around you in a way you may have never imagined. Take a moment to reflect. How many times has this voice inside you told you that you're not enough? That you need to be more, do more, achieve more? And what if I told you that this voice, which seems like your greatest guide, is actually just a distortion? That it's the reason you feel the weight of stress, anxiety, and dissatisfaction that so often seems endless? Here's the secret, and it could be the key to a new life. That voice that dominates your mind is not you. When you truly realize this, something extraordinary will begin to happen within you. A new possibility will open up before your eyes, a possibility that can free you from the endless cycle of thoughts, and finally pave the way for a state of peace and clarity, something you may have never experienced, but that has always been within your reach. The big question now is, when will you take that first step? When will you allow the true you to emerge and manifest free from judgment? Perhaps the time for that is now. Now reflect. What will be your first step toward experiencing this freedom? Maybe it's something simple, like reserving just 5 minutes of your day to observe your own breath without haste or external pressures. Or perhaps, as you listen to your thoughts today, you'll finally allow yourself to say, I am more than this. You don't need to change the world around you to find peace. What you need is to give space for your true self to emerge. And in doing so, ask yourself, what will you discover when silence finally comes? And when silence comes, pay attention, not just to the relief of mental noise, but also to the brilliance of new ideas, the inspiration that arises, and a deeper understanding of yourself. What would it be like to listen to your heart without the constant echo of doubt? Silence is not the end. It is a new beginning, the point where the noise ceases and the true journey begins. Allow yourself to be guided by it. Trust that your true self knows exactly the path to follow. The big question now is, when will you take that first step? When will you allow the true you to emerge and manifest free from judgment? Perhaps the time for that is now. Let me share a story. Meet Maria, a young professional who, for years, found herself immersed in a storm of constant worries. The voice inside her head repeated non-stop, "You're not good enough. If you fail, everything will fall apart." She wholeheartedly believed those words, letting this voice dictate every decision, every fear, every insecurity. But then, one day, Maria decided to try something different. She allowed herself to stop, sit in silence, and just observe the voice that accompanied her without judging it or trying to change what was happening. At first, the discomfort was intense, but gradually, something magical happened. Maria began to realize that she wasn't the voice. She was, in fact, the presence that was observing it. And so, she began to distance herself from that narrative, starting to find pockets of peace between the thoughts. Over time, she began to live with more ease, recognizing that her true essence was beyond the mental noise. And have you ever thought that you could do the same? So ask yourself, who am I beyond the voice? Who am I when everything quiets down? Before you try to answer, imagine this. What if the greatest treasure of your life is already inside you, waiting to be discovered? What would it be like to live without the weight of comparisons, without the need to please everyone or control everything around you? This journey isn't just about finding silence, it's about freedom, the freedom to rediscover the beauty of being present, to realize that the true miracle of life is simply living it, with all its ups and downs, with all its depth and complexity. When you stop believing in the voice, something extraordinary begins to reveal itself. Imagine a moment of complete connection with the present, where every detail of life becomes vibrant and full of meaning. It's like a curtain being drawn, back unveiling the spectacle that has always been there, but you couldn't see. This is life when you live beyond the voice. And you know what's even more fascinating? This journey isn't about silencing or fighting against the mind. It's about reconnecting with yourself, about realizing that you are already whole, you are already enough. The voice will try to convince you otherwise, but each time you connect with silence, that truth becomes clearer. Now, imagine the impact of this on your relationships, the choices you make, the way you experience the world around you. Every step taken with awareness, every moment lived with presence, is one step closer to freedom. And in that space, you realize something crucial. You don't need to control everything. It's not necessary to force or try to control every thought, every feeling. The simple act of being present is enough. But are you ready for this silence? Because the voice won't give up easily. It will resist, it will whisper, "You need me. Without me, you won't survive." It will try to convince you that you can't live without it, but you know the truth. You already know there is something greater inside of you, something truer, something more stable, and it is patiently waiting for you to realize it. Remember a moment from your childhood. Did you ever run free through a field, laugh until your stomach hurt, or simply play, fully immersed in the moment? In those moments, you weren't narrating your life, you were just living. You were free. That freedom is still here. It hasn't disappeared. It's only covered by the voice. When you stop identifying with the voice, something miraculous happens. The world changes. You're no longer trapped in thoughts. Imagine holding a glass of murky water. If you keep shaking it, the mud will never settle. But if you put it aside and wait, the mud sinks, and the water becomes clear. Your mind is the same. The more you try to control it, the muddier it gets. But when you just observe, clarity emerges. Can you imagine this clarity? Can you feel the tranquility it brings? This clarity is freedom. Freedom to live. Freedom to feel. Freedom to be. And in discovering this freedom, you realize that life doesn't need to be perfect to be extraordinary. But listen carefully. There is something deeper within you. There is a silent place, a calm observer, a presence that witnesses all of this happening. And this presence, it is the true you. Yes, the true you lies beyond that voice. In Hindu philosophy, this presence is called Atman, the eternal self, the one that exists beyond everything that is temporary. In Christian teachings, it is the gentle and meek voice of God, always present, always guiding. In Taoism, it is the Tao, the natural and effortless flow of life. And in you, how does this presence manifest? Can you feel it? What if I told you that you can find this place, that you can experience the world without being a prisoner to this incessant voice? Imagine what would change in your life. This doesn't mean forcing your mind to be silent. Fighting against the voice only makes it louder, but it means something more powerful, more liberating. It means observing the voice without judging it, without attaching to it. Just observe it as if it were a movie. You are the spectator. You are the observer. And do you know what happens when you realize this? An incredible silence begins to emerge. A silence where you find something you never imagined. True freedom. It is in this silence that you find peace, a silence that is not empty but full of life, full of love, full of everything you've always sought. When you finally stop identifying with the incessant voice in your head, something miraculous happens. The world begins to change. You are no longer trapped in the whirlwind of thoughts, nor reacting to the stories that voice creates. You become present, truly present. Imagine holding a glass of murky water. If you keep shaking it, the mud will never settle. But if you simply put the glass aside and wait, the mud settles at the bottom and the water becomes clear. Your mind is exactly the same. The more you try to control it, the muddier it becomes. But when you simply observe, clarity begins to emerge. This clarity is freedom. Freedom to live, to feel, to be. When you stop believing the voice, you discover something extraordinary. Life doesn't need to be perfect to be extraordinary. The peace you've been searching for wasn't out there. It's always been inside you, waiting to be discovered. But what if the problem isn't your thoughts? What if the real problem is the fact that you're constantly talking to yourself? This voice isn't a guide nor a wise counselor. It's a cage made of words, and the bars of that cage are judgments, fears, complaints, comparisons. Can you feel it? Can you sense how this constant narrative drains your energy, steals your peace, and turns small challenges into massive storms? Now, imagine a calm lake, so still that it perfectly reflects the sky above like a flawless mirror, but suddenly you throw a stone into the water. Ripples distort the surface, and the reflection of the sky disappears. Now think, how many stones have you thrown into your mental lake? How many times have you allowed the restlessness of the inner voice to sabotage your calm? This incessant, disruptive voice is stealing the space you need to experience the peace and clarity you're so desperately searching for. And do you know what happens when you realize this? A deep silence begins to emerge, a silence that isn't empty but filled with life, full of love, full of everything you've always sought, but that was covered up by the voice. This silence is the key to peace, the true peace, the one that comes from within you, not from something external. Yes, the voice will resist. It will try to convince you that you need it. It will whisper, "You need me. Without me, you won't survive." But you don't have to believe it, because deep down, you already know that there's something greater within you, something truer, something more stable, more profound. Think back to a moment from your childhood. Maybe you ran free through a field, laughed until your stomach hurt, or simply played without a care in the world, completely immersed in the moment. In those times, you weren't narrating your life. You were just living. You were free. And that freedom is still here, inside you, waiting to be rediscovered. You no longer need to identify with that voice. You already have within you the peace and clarity you've always searched for. You just need to learn to look beyond the thoughts, beyond the words, and recognize the silent presence that's always been by your side. And by doing that, you'll discover that in the silence, you are more than enough. What you're about to explore is not just a reflection on thoughts or feelings. It's not about merely silencing the mind. It's something much deeper. It's about understanding what lies behind that constant voice, and more importantly, discovering who you are beyond it. Who are you in the silence, in the peace, in the pure essence of your existence? Stay with me, because what you're about to uncover isn't just about learning to control fleeting thoughts or feelings. It's about discovering yourself, the true essence of who you really are. And I can assure you, this discovery has the power to not only free you from old patterns and limitations, but also to open the doors to a new way of living, feeling, and connecting with the world around you. And I ask you, are you ready to discover this silence? To dive inside and find the peace that for so long has been hidden? The journey is just beginning. You've been conditioned to believe that your thoughts are sacred, that they define who you are. From self-help books to well-meaning advice, from friends and mentors, everyone repeats the same phrase: change your thoughts, change your life. But what if, for a moment, I suggest something different? What if the real problem isn't your thoughts? What if what's truly at stake is the fact that you are constantly talking to yourself? That voice, echoing incessantly in your mind, is not a guide. It's not a wise counselor. It's a prison made of words, and the bars of that cage are judgments, fears, complaints, and comparisons. Can you feel it? The tension of being trapped by thoughts that aren't really yours. Now imagine a serene lake, so calm that its surface perfectly reflects the sky, like a mirror on a clear day. But then suddenly, you throw a stone into the lake. Ripples distort the surface, and the reflection of the sky disappears. The peace that was there is shattered. The clarity vanishes. The voice in your head is like that stone, restless, disruptive, always causing disturbances in your mind. And it is this voice that keeps you from experiencing the calm, the clarity, and the peace you so deeply desire. But listen closely. There's something deeper within you. There's a silent place, a quiet observer, a presence that watches all of this unfold. And do you know what's most surprising? That presence is the true you. In Hindu philosophy, this presence is called Atman, the eternal self, the one who exists beyond all that is transient. In Christian teachings, it's the gentle, soft voice of God, always guiding us in silence. In Taoism, it's the Tao, the effortless, natural flow of life that connects us to what is essential. Now imagine that you can find this place. Imagine that you can experience the world in a new way, without being a prisoner to the incessant voice that dominates your thoughts. This doesn't mean forcing the mind to silence. Fighting against this voice only makes it louder and more chaotic. The secret is something more powerful and more liberating. It means observing that voice, without judgment, without attachment. Just observe, as if it were a movie you're watching from the outside. You are not the character, you are the spectator, you are the observer. Have you ever stopped to think about what your life would be like without this voice, or at least without identifying with it, without being ruled by its relentless judgments, the fears it creates, the comparisons it constantly makes? This isn't just an exercise of imagination or a passing thought. This is a real invitation to a journey of self-discovery, a journey that could completely redefine what it means to be yourself, beyond everything your mind insists on telling you. What if I told you that inside of you, there's a deep, unchanging, and complete silence waiting to be rediscovered? This silence isn't empty. It's not the absence of something. It's full of life, love, and a clarity that transcends anything that this disturbing voice could offer. It's your true essence, the part of you that has never been touched by the distortions of the mind. Imagine, for a moment, a serene lake with a perfectly calm surface reflecting the sky above. Now imagine that suddenly you throw a stone into this lake. Ripples appear, the surface becomes disturbed, and the reflection of the sky disappears. The voice echoing in your mind is like that stone, a constant disturbance, an interference in the serenity of your being. But what if you could allow the lake to return to calm? What if it could reflect the infinity of the sky again, without any more distortions? That is the power of perception. That is the power of true connection to your essence. Now, as we reach the end of this revealing expedition, I want to express my deepest gratitude to you for staying with us until the end. Your dedication and curiosity are the fuel that drives us to explore, demystify, and share these intriguing stories. I want to share something special with you. As a fan of the Map of Higher Self channel, you are about to embark on a unique journey of self-discovery and mental formation. I present to you The Map of Higher Self, a revolutionary ebook that will redefine your mental reality. As the creator of this content and leader of the Map of Higher Self channel, I'm sharing my deepest experiences and valuable lessons with you. Each chapter of this ebook is a reflection of my journey, filled with practical lessons I've lived and transformed into wisdom. Don't miss this opportunity to transform your life. Click the link in the pinned comment and start your journey towards self-knowledge and positivity today. Imagine yourself for a moment as one of the ancient explorers who ventured into unknown territories, guided only by the flame of curiosity and the thirst for knowledge. Every piece of information, every symbol deciphered, is like a map leading us deeper into the labyrinth of the unknown. And just like those explorers, you too are now a little closer to the truth, carrying with you a new understanding of the forces that shape our world. Your presence here is not just a personal achievement, but a valuable contribution to a vibrant community of curious and knowledge-seeking individuals. Every view, every comment, every like is a step we take together toward a deeper and collective understanding. You are not just a spectator, you are a partner in this journey of discovery. So, as we close this chapter, I invite you to reflect on today's revelations and prepare for the next steps. We will continue unraveling secrets, questioning established truths, and exploring the mysteries around us. Your participation is essential, not just for the growth of this channel, but for the expansion of our horizon of knowledge. Until the next discovery. And remember, the real power lies in questioning and understanding what is beyond the visible. And before you go, don't miss these 2 videos I've selected especially for you. They're packed with deep knowledge and fascinating discoveries that you'll love. Click on one of them and continue your journey of self-discovery and the pursuit of wisdom with the amazing content our channel has to offer.